guest for this episode is Dr. Naima Ricks, Seton Hall's 2024 Many Are One Alumni Impact Honoree, and currently the Executive Director of After School All-Stars New Jersey. In 2013, Dr. Ricks was elected Vice President of the Roselle Board of Education, the youngest elected official in her hometown. She is certainly an accomplished member of our Seton Hall community, and in this episode, she joins us to talk about her passion for learning, her journey through academia, and her love for community. Take a listen. Naima, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the Pirate's Eye podcast today. I'm thrilled to have you on. I'm ready to jump into the conversation, and I'm glad that we can make the time to get together.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I first heard your story at the June Many Are One Alumni Awards Gala. So this is a conversation that has been percolating in my mind for months to have you on the show since I saw you speak at the gala. And I want to get into the fullness of your Seton Hall journey and your professional journey. But I want to start with the gala. Let's start with that night. You are a two-time alumna. You were in front of 200, 300, something like that, peers, and you were being awarded. What was it like to be honored in that way?
What was it like to be honored? That is a great question. It was a moment that really came full circle for me. And one thing about me that I do often is that I advocate for myself, and that it's something that a lot of people aren't willing to do. Like I'm the queen of shoot your shot. So I never forget a few years ago, I met a woman who worked in the Seton Hall alumni office. And I said, well, I need you to keep me in mind for future opportunities. I sent her, I'm going to send you my bio. I'm going to tell you everything about me that I'm doing in the community. And she kind of wrote back, and this might have been like 5 years ago. And she was just like, whatever. Right. And it came full circle that finally, I'm like, oh, wow, somebody recognized the work that I'm doing in the community from the Seton Hall community. So I was truly floored that someone actually thought of me. Miss Rashonda, who was the person who reached out to me, and she did a story on me for Women's History Month around this time, and she covered some of the work that I'm doing in the community, and that from there led to a spark of recognition of my impact, and then to receive the Alumni Impact Award was truly phenomenal because I do a lot in the community, and I don't ask for anything. I volunteer a lot of my time, and I'm okay with that. I know a lot of times people aren't okay with that, but I'm okay with volunteering my time and giving back. And so it's just so rewarding to see that it's being recognized. And in knowing that, I may have put myself out there 5 years ago, and maybe that might have made a difference, or it didn't make a difference, but it really came full circle to for folks to recognize the work that I'm doing. And I hope that I was able to be an inspiration for other young women like me to go out and make a difference in the world. So it was truly phenomenal.
I absolutely love that. And you are reminding me of one of the reasons I love doing this podcast is because I feel like every alum that I sit with teaches me something, opens up my mind in another way. So that you kicked it off with I advocate for myself, for me was just let's go. What a gem, right? To say, I'm going to put myself out there. I believe in what I'm doing and I want the world to know about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really a valuable piece of information because oftentimes people are very humble, very shy, very timid about saying, this is what I'm doing. And I want you to know about it. So that thank you for sharing that because that right there already is inspiring me in this conversation.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's tough, but sometimes I'm just like the queen of let me just shoot my shot and send this little email or, or reach out to someone. And you just never know where it might lead you. So I'm so grateful.
Now you shared a little bit about what you were shooting your shot for, right? And it was to share the work that you are doing in your community. And so let's talk a little bit about that. What is it that you are doing? What is it that fills your hours and your days and your mind and your heart?
Mm-hmm. Well, at the time when I first did that outreach, so I'm from a small borough called Roselle, New Jersey, and I am the youngest elected official. And at the time, I became the youngest elected board member, probably across the state. I was 23 years old, and I was
Wow.
elected to the Board of Education in Roselle. And during that time, I was completing my master's at Seton Hall, and I took a couple of courses on educational law and educational policy. And I was like, oh, I can change these things. Okay.
Wow.
Right. So I decided, I'm like, oh, I could be on this board right here and change some of these policies in my own hometown. So that's really where my impact began. Was I, served on the Board of Education at the time. I was also the service unit manager for our Girl Scouts in Roselle. So I was responsible for recruiting all of the Girl Scouts, probably like 200 Girl Scouts across my borough,
Wow.
managing all the Girl Scouts. Very involved in my sorority. Shout out to Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, where I also lead a lot of our social action initiatives. So I'm very much in the community, getting us politically involved. And I'm sure there's a lot more that I do that at the time that I can't think of, but really my involvement really began as being a Board of Education member. And now I still serve on various boards today. I still serve my community in any way that I can.
I love that. Naima, you mentioned being within the Seton Hall Master's program at that time. And so let's jump into what that Seton Hall journey was for you. How did you get to Seton Hall? What was the experience like? And what really shaped it that inspired you to then continue your education with a second degree there?
Yes, great question. So, how I got to Seton Hall is I attended William Patterson University as an undergraduate student, and I was the Student Government Association president. And during that time, I had the opportunity to again serve my community. I've always just been a servant leader. This is me. I'm going to show up. I'm going to serve. So I decided to be the Student Government Association president, and I'm working, a student body of about 10,000 students. I'm working very closely with the administration, with the president, vice presidents. I was very involved in the community, and students will always come to me and ask me for help. And I realized I always had the answer for them, so I could make a career out of this. And I started looking. I have a great amount of mentors from William Patterson that said, "Oh, you can make a career out of this." And they introduced me to a lovely major of college student personnel administration, which I majored in for my master's because I wanted to support students forever, and I still am. And so that is what inspired me to go with my mentors from William Patterson, who let me know about this amazing opportunity to go into this field and look and helping me to apply for this program. They were my references and they got me there. While being at Seton Hall, there were some amazing professors, like Dr. Kim. She's no longer with the university, but she was my mentor at the time. And I still stayed very close with her. So I went there I got my master's in 2 years, and within the span, I've always stayed connected with her, whether if there were events happening at the university, she would always invite me to come back to alumni events. And I really stayed connected in any way that I could. Again, I'm that type of person that hopefully if anybody hears me listening, like if you need something, if you want me to come to something, I'm going to come. I'm going to show up. Yeah. So Dr. Kim would invite me to stuff. I would come and I'm like, oh. And finally, in my career, again, I'm working in student affairs. I'm working in higher education. I'm working in what I got my degree in for over 5 years. And my most recent role in higher education, I was working as a director of student engagement. And I said, all right, I'm trying to figure out what's next in my career. Am I going to be a vice president? Am I going to be a president? What does that look like? So I reconnected with Dr. Kim, and she, helped me to reapply again for the doctoral program. So during that time, I applied for the doctoral program. I got in, and so I'm just so grateful for the faculty. I think the faculty at Seton Hall really make a big impact on a student's experience. And so I would say the faculty are really what drove me to come back. Also, times have changed and I really wanted to be in person. So that's also why I selected my program, because I wanted to be in person. I wanted to, be in class and make new friends and things like that. So at the time, everything was in person. So that was another reason why I decided to come back. And then lastly, it was just logistical because I was like within 5 years of getting my master's, and if I would have waited any longer, I I would have had to take the GREs again. And nobody do that, right? So it really worked out where the same faculty was still there and I didn't have to take the GREs and I applied and I got in. So I'm so grateful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And even naming the logistical, right? Because that's real and that's planful. Like you
Mhm.
are being strategic about planning your future. And if there is an obstacle that you can foresee, go around it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Plan for the obstacle. So
Exactly.
that I love that so much. Now, what I'm gathering from you is that you very much are a lifelong learner. You're very committed to education, to expanding your expertise and your knowledge. Why? Where does that come from?
Where does that come from? I would say I have a strong upbringing with my parents, and both my mother and father have just been very involved in my upbringing. And I was a Girl Scout since I was 5 years old, so I've always been like involved in the community. I've been cleaning up parks since I was 5, so all these things that are just truly resonated with me stems down to my love for being a Girl Scout, of a person who thinks about character, courage, and confidence to make the world a better place. Those are the principles of Girl Scouts that I truly embody. And so my parents helped to instill that in me in such a young age where, I've always just loved going to school. I've always like, I was that type of person where I didn't like to miss school even growing up. Like, I probably have perfect attendance unless I was sick and they're like, "Oh, you can't come." But I'm going to show up. I don't like to miss school and have to catch up. No, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna learn. And now I miss school. I'm like, can I get another doctorate degree?
What is it that you miss? Do you want to be in the class? Is it the connection? Is it the what process of it really just speaks to you?
Well, I miss like I like learning something new. So I'm always like enrolling or on online webinars. If there's something where I can learn something new, I'm gonna take it away. If there's a conference where I can learn something new, I'm gonna do that. So I just appreciate the opportunity to learn something that I could take away with. So, even just thinking about like my experience in at Seton Hall, my doctoral degree is in higher education, leadership management, and policy. However, today I don't work in higher education directly. I serve as I serve as the executive director of a nonprofit called After School All Stars. And so in my work, I'm still using a lot of the coursework that I learned at Seton Hall. So I'm still using a lot on my finances, the managing the budget. The finance of higher education was probably one of my favorite courses. And I didn't even think I would like it. My statistics course, I use data every day, so my experiences and what I've learned is so transferable to my current profession. And so I'm always just thinking about how can I learn, how can I grow, and how can I continue to become a better professional.
I love that. Talk to me a little bit about the organization that you are currently the executive director of.
Yeah, so I'm the executive director of After School All Stars, and After School All Stars is a national nonprofit. It's a fun fact. It was founded by Arnold Schwarzenegger in Los Angeles, and we are all over the United States, from Hawaii to Florida to Ohio, and of course, right here in New Jersey. And what we do is we provide after school programming, and we provide comprehensive enrichment in the after school program. So our students are learning how to cook, how to dance, how to sew, and really just do a lot of fun, amazing things in the after school space and learning a new enrichment. So,
Mm.
and I'm responsible for leading the day-to-day activities and working with the organization.
Now, there's a common thread here because what you shared about your upbringing really spoke to being involved in an activity that was going to just help shape you, right? Give you experiences, expose you to different activities, to um, different experiences, communities. And now you're working in something that is doing the same for the next generation. Why do you think that is so important? What is the benefit? Why is it a priority to have children in these types of spaces where they're developing their skills, they're learning different skills, they're being exposed to different experiences? What do you feel personally is the value there?
Yeah, there's a lot of value there. And I think that a lot of it transfers into, thinking about higher education, because one of the things when I, was working directly at a university is that I noticed that I felt like I was getting to my college students too late. And I felt like I wanted to start to work with the younger population. So at the time, I decided to write a children's book. So I wrote a children's book. It's called The Empowerment ABCs, as an effective way to be empowered at any age, right? So I think about when I work with the young people, how I want them to be empowered. And I think about how I am filling that pipeline of now working with a younger population, and then them building those skills for them to go on to college or go on to prepare for life and to be successful or in school and in life. So, I'm just so grateful that everything really comes full circle with thinking about the holistic development of a student's development.
Right, right. And that's so important right now. And I ask the question because I think about one of the challenges that, a lot of folks that I'm in community with are facing is we're in this digital age of being able to have all of these amazing learning experiences from within the four walls of a bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our young people can be exposed to a lot of information. They can be exposed to a lot of things, and they can do it all from the comfort of their tablet. But what we're also talking about are these really like hands-on skills and these experiences that pull them outside of all of the opportunities in the digital age. And, when I think about what you're saying in the Girl Scouts, and I think about the juxtaposition of the digital age that we're in now, that's part of what's leading me to ask those questions. And so how do you balance that with the youth that you work with in terms of the digital and the hands-on experiences?
I think that it's important to acknowledge that times have changed and to incorporate the digital changes that are happening within the world. And, the first thing that comes to mind is this new AI, right? It's not really new anymore, but now everyone is using AI. So
Right.
I can't imagine completing a doctoral program and I could go on and just say, hey, I could write my dissertation on that. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
don't,
It
that is,
feels it
yeah,
feels like a rapid change, right? Like
right.
I know we've been building towards this in terms of the evolution of technology, but it feels so rapid. And I agree with you. I'm like, what if I would have had
What
this
is
in college?
happening? Yeah, I can't imagine being in college during these times. So I just think it's important for us as educators to make sure that the students know how to use these resources properly, and to make sure that if they are using them, that they are still learning with that. So I think that it's important for educators to acknowledge it and to support the students' growth and development properly, so that they aren't going on to do something like write a dissertation on something. I want them to understand the concepts that they're using. And that's why I do see that a lot of schools are even blocking these types of programs on their school, so that hopefully, we can make sure that the students learn and we can encourage that learning. Like a lot of folks don't like to read like a hard book anymore, right? Because we have
Right.
these like tablets, and just thinking about how the last print of the New Jersey newspaper, right, just ended last month. It's just
Right.
interesting to see how times are changing and how we as educators can adapt to support our future learners.
Yeah, absolutely. And now going back to your personal journey, we have you having been the youngest elected member in your town. You are the executive director of the organization that you work for right now. You have already been honored by your alma mater, one of your alma mater, Seton Hall. I feel like you've accomplished so much, and I don't even know how much more you can be pursuing. But I have to ask, if we were to fast forward a couple of years, 5, 10 years, what do you envision having accomplished? Like, what is next for you in your journey?
That is a great question. Um, whew, what do I know? The thing is, like, I really put my mind to something and I'm going to accomplish it. Like, for example, I put my mind to completing my doctorate degree by the age of 30. That was in my mind. I didn't exactly make it at 30. It was a couple of years after, but like that was my mind. And I still completed my doctoral journey in my 30s, in my early 30s. And so what I think that, where I see myself going in the future is for me to like kind of speak it into existence of what I plan to do. And so, yet I haven't figured out what that may be. I have, like you said, I'm so grateful for, all the things that I have accomplished right now. But I would say I still see myself leading in the executive leadership world, perhaps, within the organization that I'm in now or with another organization, but I still see myself leading within an organization. I still see myself as serving the community. I still see myself as someone who's always willing to give back. And, I just hope to continue to grow. I hope to continue to make an impact on the world. And that's really what I'm just passionate about.
That's beautiful. I love that so much. And so for folks that are listening, I also forgot to mention that you wrote a children's book. Like I could just keep going. If I keep going, I'll just keep remembering pieces of this conversation to add to the list of all of your accomplishments. But from all of that, what do you hope folks take away from this conversation? They listen to the episode, they hear your story, they remember you from Many Are One. What is it that you hope really resonates with folks as the one takeaway?
I hope that what really resonates with folks is that they go out and get what they want, and not be afraid to ask for support or ask for help. If you see that job that you want, go ahead and DM that person on LinkedIn. If you see, something else that you want, don't be afraid to go out and ask for it. And that is really what I would say that I am. I'm grateful that I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'm grateful that I'm not afraid to ask for support, and I'm not afraid to ask for someone to help lift me up. And I'm so grateful for the many men and women who have been in my life to have helped lift me up. And I'm grateful for, one of my dissertation, side note, is really on social capital. And it's the experiences of first generation college students and support programs, and what are the factors that help them to be successful. And from my dissertation, we're able to see that students who were involved in a particular support program were able to be successful. They're able to, gain a lot of resources and to gain that social capital. So I think that me being so out there and being willing to go and grasp those things or to build my social capital, I think is so important. And I hope that people continue to do so that they can have a strong circle. They can have the things that they want, and, just be willing to go out there and get it.
Yeah, that's so important. Something that resonates with me and resonates with a lot of alumni, and I hear from a lot of the interviews that I have with folks, is a couple of concepts that continue to just come up over and over. One is the value of community, right? The sense of belonging, the feeling of community. And when I speak with Seton Hall alumni, it always looks different where they found that sense of community, but it is always one of the greatest attributions to a positive experience or success. And so from what I've gathered from some of the things that you've shared with me today is also that, right? Like that sense of community. And then from you hearing the speaking things into existence and the mindfulness and the planning. And I think that is such another valuable piece of information that you've shared today. So just want to say thank you for all of the gems that you've dropped, for sharing your story, and for walking us through the natural way that your servant leadership just comes out and shines. And I think it's something that I love to get at, and I love to hear, and I love for our listeners to hear, because it certainly is something that continues to resonate with the Seton Hall community.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for my Seton Hall community, even down to different doctor websites. If I see that the doctor went to Seton Hall, I'm going to pick them. And I saw you had Dr. Mercedes on, let's say a few months ago now. And right. So Dr. Mercedes, he's an example of someone like I hire him to speak to my staff, right?
I love it.
I'm going to utilize my Seton Hall connections each and every day.
I love it.
We have to stick together as fellow pirates, okay?
I love it. I'll share a quick story. I was in Puerto Rico recently, and there was a pirate sticker on a car in Puerto Rico, and I had a pirate sticker on my water bottle, and I was like, if we get close to this car, I'm gonna like wave from the window and point to the sticker, but we didn't get there.
I bet I can find, because actually the last time I went to Puerto Rico now, I met a bartender there who went to Seton Hall. So it could have been him.
It always happens. There's always a connection. You can find a Seton Hall connection wherever you go. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Naima, for being on the show. It has been such a pleasure talking with you and hearing your journey, and I hope it's the first of many.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
All right.
Dr. Ricks is one of more than 100,000 alumni who demonstrate what great minds can do with a Seton Hall education.